Okay, we are going to jump into functions today. Lesson 24, the question of the day: how can programmers use functions to create their own abstractions? Alright, so watch this video. I'm not going to do it for the sake of time. Watch this video. It's very important. And ask yourself these questions. What code would go in the definition of the function? When would you call the function? What would you name it? Okay. Alright, let's get into it. This is exercise 3, calling functions. So we've already worked with the draw loop before, guys. Okay. Function draw, that's the draw loop. So these are just different types of functions. This is draw sky, draw balloons. Let's see what else they have. And that's it. So draw sky and draw balloons. Calling functions. Functions let you build your own blocks and decide what code goes inside of them. This program has already created 2 functions, but only one of them is being called. So here we have a function that has been created, and here we have another one. But up here we only have draw sky being called. Do this. Call the second function to reveal the full image. Use the function that is being called as a guide. Draw sky is being called. You see a sky. Draw balloons. Do you see any balloons here? No. So let's figure out. So this is how you call a function. Use this block. Call a function. We're going to put it right there. And what do you think it needs to say? Draw balloons, right? So let me see. So that is how you call a function. Reordering code, exercise 4. Reordering code. Placing code inside functions makes it easy to read and make changes to. Good names for functions indicate what your program is doing to a reader. You can call your functions in a different order to quickly make significant changes to how your program runs. So do this. This program already has 4 functions created that draw parts of a scene. Unfortunately, it's not coming out right. So read the 4 functions to know what they do. Call the functions in an order that draws the scene in the way that looks best to you. Okay, so none of them have been called yet. And so let's just call them all in order. Draw background, draw trees, draw clouds, draw fence. Okay. So these go at the top of our code. And we're going to write them out one by one. So, draw background, draw trees. I did not spell trees correctly. What's the next one? The next one is draw clouds and draw fence. Okay, so it looks like the clouds should be drawn after the trees, but to me, everything else looks fine. So clouds or trees. I don't know, let's just switch these. That's all I know. Oh yeah, right. Clouds drawn first. Yeah, this looks good to me. This looks like it works. So all we had to do was switch these. And note how inside the function is where the code goes to do something. So draw background, they have the code to draw the background. It's green, interesting. It looks blue to me. Anyway, let's move on to exercise 5. Does it matter where you create functions? So far, all your functions have been created at the bottom of your code. What do you think will happen if you call a function before it is defined? Notice that the red square is drawn before its function is created, while the green square is drawn after its function is created. They're referring to the code. So yeah, red square drawn drawn before its function is created. The green square, okay, the green square is drawn after its function is created. Which of these do you think will be drawn? The red square will be drawn, but the green one will not. You cannot call functions after they are created. The green square will be drawn, but the red one. So you guys read through this, try your best, try and figure it out, take a guess. Okay, so I guessed A, and I was incorrect. The correct answer is C. Both squares will be drawn. You can create functions anywhere you like in your code. So just keep that in mind, that you can call the functions and create them anywhere in your code. Okay, so exercise 6A, calling functions in the draw loop. You can call a function inside the draw loop just as you would anywhere else in your code. So this is the function that we've been working with for several lessons, the draw loop. Do this. A function that will draw a background has been created for you. A sprite has been created to move across the background. Call the function inside the draw loop so that the sprite appears on top of the background. Okay, so there's no background. Don't create functions inside the draw loop. Make them at the bottom of your code. Okay. Call the function inside the draw loop. So, okay. The name of the function is trees background. So I think all we have to do is put that call function block right there. And if we're wrong, that means all we have to do is switch this block to below draw sprites. But I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, so alright, yeah, so his body isn't like dragging. So this is correct. Moving on to 6B. Calling functions multiple times. You'll often want to use the same code at many places in your program. Once you've created a function, you can call it as many times as you like. Do this. This code creates a sprite that moves across the screen once. How can you make it go back across the screen? Note, the function is already called once at the beginning of your program. Read the condition of the if statement inside the draw loop. Why do you think it's there? Use this if statement and the function written for you to make the sprite move across the screen multiple times. Okay, this icon means this workspace infinite loop thing says that this level is part of a larger project. Changes will be saved across these levels. Okay. Set flyer. Okay, so the function is already called once at the beginning of your program. Okay, that's this set flyer. Read the condition of the if statement. Flyer.x is less than -50. So it's saying if flyer is on the left side of the screen, what do we want it to do? Well, we want to change its x position. Oh, you know what? We can just put the set flyer function right here, I think. I think that's what the point is. Yeah, calling functions multiple times. So that's the point of this level, is that we can just call this function multiple times. So I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to copy it by hitting Control-C on my keyboard. Then I'm going to move my cursor into the if statement and paste it with Control-B on my keyboard. And now we see if this works. I would have made this velocity much faster. Let's do that so we don't have to sit around for 5 minutes. Okay, yep, this works. Okay. Moving on to 6C. Making changes to functions. A nice benefit of using functions to remove repeated code is that you can now easily make changes to multiple places in your code. Just change how you create the functions and your program will now use the new code everywhere your function is called. Do this. Make changes to the setFlyer function so that the flyer starts at a random y location between 0 and 400 and moves at a random velocity every time it is reset. Okay, so first we got to go to the setFlyer function. Okay, that's right here. Starts at a random y location. Okay. Oh wait. Okay, so we're just going to put the random number in here. Pretty easy. 0 and 400. And then a random velocity every time. Okay, we don't need to go make this range too big, but remember, this has to be a negative. And let's make it -4 to -9. I think I'm going to like that. So let's see, is it a random Y location? Yes. Let's see if we can tell if its velocity is different. Yeah, this time it looks slower. Yeah, that time it looks faster. So we're good here. And now 6D is creating functions to organize code. Okay, in Game Lab, all the action is happening in the draw loop. But too much complex code makes it really confusing to read. To keep your draw loop easy to read, use functions for larger chunks of code. You can call them inside the draw loop and define them below. So basically they're saying, here we have the draw loop. If we didn't call these functions, we would have all this code inside of the draw loop. But instead, we're making the draw loop look very small and neat and organized by just calling these functions. Hopefully that makes sense to you. You can call them inside the draw loop and define them below. This is a really good example of using abstraction. Remember, abstraction takes something complex and makes it simpler. Do this. This program should draw a daytime scene or a nighttime scene depending on the location of the mouse. So right now the mouse doesn't matter. It's always a daytime scene. The draw loop describes what needs to happen, but one of the functions hasn't been written yet. Write the draw night function. So as you see, there's nothing in this draw night function, which has been created but is empty. Hint, look at the picture to the right for how your night image should look. Can you use the draw day function to help you at all? Yes, absolutely. I think what we're going to do is just copy and paste all the code from draw day, paste it in draw night, and we're going to change the color of it looks like the sun and the sparkles on the water, and maybe make the background a little bit darker of a blue. So let's make this workspace bigger, and we're going to copy all this. Let's see, can I scroll down? Yes. Okay, so I Control-C on my keyboard to copy it, and now I'm gonna, I didn't get this no stroke. I'm gonna move my cursor up. Oh, whoops. I'm gonna move my cursor up, and let's make sure that we have no stroke at the top. No, we do not. So let's copy this. Move the cursor up to the top of this function. Control-V to paste, and now we need to make these this sun, we need to, let's call this moon, and I'm gonna search RGB, because that's what this is. RGB is just colors. RGB gray. RGB dark gray. Gray. Okay, 3A, 3B, 3C, 333. $128, $128, $128. Let's try that. And okay, I saw, okay, so yeah, when it's down here. Okay, yeah, that's the color I want. I gotta pause the video here to start a new video.